I think the world should be meditating, why everybody really needs to be meditating. Now, so many people have heard about the benefits of meditation, but in actual fact, it's still one of those things which I think it's so difficult to really grasp its power and understand why it's so important until either it's your time to really learn meditation, and you will know when it's your time, because before then we can have lots of resistance to it. But I still say, even if you don't get that calling towards meditation, it really is a powerful foundation to lay. And I really wish that I had been taught how to meditate as a child rather than waiting until I was desperate for it and needed it. And unfortunately, many of us don't get that wake-up call until we have no choice. So I've been meditating, so some of you know this from the Lighthouse, so I've been meditating now for 17 years. And actually, when I say that, I think, oh my God, have I really been meditating for 17 years? And I love it, so it's my passion. So yoga is very much learning how to transcend the body, to be able to stay in the body, understand the body, eventually transcend the body. Your next step as a soul, as you evolve, is to then transcend the mind. And so for me, it was take me deep on my path. And I loved yoga, and I still love yoga, which is why I created Med Yoga, because I felt there's a real gap between yoga and meditation. For many people out there who think yoga is great, it's about being flexible, it's about looking great in your leggings or whatever, lots of different reasons. And on the far side, meditation for many just seems so far away. So with Med Yoga, I wanted to bridge the gap so people could come out of your sort of superficial yoga practice to a more meditation based, and understand much more that yoga isn't about stretching, it's not about yoga postures, there's so much more to it. So Med Yoga is really there to open you up to understand yoga is a teaching on how to live a happy, joyful life, how to live a free life, how to feel amazing, how to step into your potential. So it's very much removing the structures that have blocked you from that. Meditation is transcendence of the mind, because the one thing that blocks you from all that is the mind. The mind is the root cause for more or less happiness, more or less joy, more or less prosperity, more or less success, more or less love, more or less anything. The mind is the root cause for all of it. So that's where it all starts. So this is really the teaching of meditation, to take us all the way back to the blank canvas and where it all starts. So I'm going to give you a brief overview, because meditation is such a complex topic, which is why I could talk for hours on this. But I don't want to push you away from meditation and make it feel so overwhelming and so mystic or confusing. So I want to try in today's session to keep it really simple for you. And then we can just expand month by month. We're in no hurry, because the more you start to meditate, the more questions it's going to open up, and the more you'll start to be curious about what you're experiencing and why. And those are the questions we can work on. So it will be very much a practical experience. So I want to try and get this stuff out of the way, so that I can then force you into just a practical experience. So it'll be a full 45-minute sitting. The part of you that's going to try and learn this information is your mind. And your mind is the biggest block. So everything we're teaching is beyond the mind. So the only way to truly understand it is through the body. and through the experience of it. But that experience and the timing is unique. And I can't give that to you. Nobody could have given that to me, not even the best yoga teacher, the best guru out there. It goes beyond that. We call it grace. By an act of grace, by an act of an open heart, intention, for some reason, you will receive the gifts of meditation. And when you receive them, you know. And that has got nothing to do with anybody else in this world. Nobody can do that. It seems to come from grace. And everybody's blessed at certain times. At certain times, maybe the soul's not ready to receive it. Maybe it's not the soul's journey or the path. But what we've learned through the experience is when a soul is ready, they'll start to move towards yoga. If they move towards yoga, they'll want to go deeper into the heart. They'll want to know more about the self, about who they are beyond the physical body, beyond the mind. And it's that calling for a desire to know the truth of who you are, that I am more than what society has taught me. I'm not just a physical body. I'm far beyond that. And it's that calling that then leads you towards meditation, and you start to see the benefits of meditation in your own life. And from that, you start to connect to what I call the real gifts, which is the divine connection. You realize you are completely connected to a higher power, a higher source, who's always there for you, who can help guide you, offer you wisdom, offer you love, unconditional love like you've never felt before. And you know it's far, far deeper than what we've been living in, the illusion. And what stops us from knowing that reality is the mind and fear. That's the biggest block. So I'm going to run through some basics, and then that will give you an idea of where we'll be going over the next 3 months before we go diving in to the real juicy bits. Okay, so the first thing is, when you start to meditate, you need a space to do it. So I will say, if you're going to commit to meditation, commit. Meditation is not one of those things where you can just go, I'll do it here, there, or when I fancy. That's not meditating. Meditation is something that's so sacred, and you have to treat it as something that's sacred, because you are going inwards to connect to your soul and your inner being. And if you don't treat that aspect of yourself as a sacred being, as something that's been created through the divine, by the divine, there's not enough self-love there. You will not get the benefits of meditation. Because the key teaching in meditation is to remind you that you are unconditionally loved. You're not just a block of cells put down here that happen to have arms and legs. Something created you for a reason. And that can be very hard for people in today's society to really say, that's true. That I have a purpose, that actually there's a reason for me. I'm not just a ball of cells that suddenly just miraculously appeared and will just disappear. And actually, I've been created by a creative force for a reason. And that takes a huge amount of self-worth to say, yes, yeah, I'm sacred. And when we really, really stand by that, we cannot treat ourselves with anything less than self-love. We cannot allow ourselves to disrespect us. We can't allow other people to disrespect us. You have the experience of who you are, which means you can't treat yourself any less than what you're worthy of. And this is the beauty. But that is what I find in all my work with clients. the biggest block, self-worth, and the acknowledgement that they are so worthy, so divine, so lovable. Because when they look at their actions in everyday life, they're not treating themselves like that. They're treating themselves how their conditioning was, what was passed down to them. And this is what we have to look at when we start to meditate. We have to start to question, how am I being with myself? Am I feeding and nourishing myself like I would a god or a goddess? Am I treating myself like something that's gold in a relationship? What is the relationship I have with myself? It will all show itself in meditation, because where you haven't been treating yourself as a sacred being, you'll be creating pain in your body. Because there's an aspect of you that hasn't been discovered yet, that is sacred and divine. And each time you don't treat it in that way, it creates a negative emotion, which becomes a block in your life or your relationships, or what you're attracting and manifesting, or becomes a disease or an illness. It's simply an energy block. It's where you're preventing complete unconditional love. And so the return journey with meditation is the return to love. But to return to love, you have to face all the barriers and the blocks you put up towards receiving it from yourself and others. And that's the uncomfortable bit. When you've got it, it's great. But when you're facing an aspect of yourself that's really resistant and doesn't want to nourish you that day, and just thinks, I'll look after everybody else, but I really can't be bothered to look after me. I'll be fine on a sandwich. That'd be fine. Oh, I'll just shove a load of chocolate down my gob. I'll be fine. It won't work. If you're meditating, it will hurt when you go into meditation, because you'll feel it. Which is why I always say to a client, the first step, if you want to meditate with me, sit still for 15 minutes in a room and don't move. Don't go anywhere. Don't move your body. Just sit either on the floor, on the sofa for 15 minutes. And if you can sit 15 minutes and not move and not run away from yourself, okay, I'll take you deeper. If you can't sit still for 15 minutes without going into the fridge or grabbing that magazine or thinking about somebody else that you have to make happy, or what needs to be done next week, what you haven't done, you're not gonna progress. And for most people, they couldn't sit still 5 minutes by themselves and not move the body and not do anything without wobbles and nerves and a potential panic attack. So be kind and gentle. I'm going to be kind and gentle with you. I'm not going to take you and push you over the edge just yet. Okay, so meditation is literally a study of the mind. So the reason why it's a study of the mind is if you start to study the mind and understand your own mind, you'll wake up from discovering you can't be the mind. So I'd probably say 90% of the population think they are their mind. So when the mind says something, they do. The mind says this, they believe. They don't question the model of reality they're living in. The mind will go, you're great. Yeah, I am. You're awful. Yes, I am. They hate you. Oh, no, they do. They love you. Oh, wonderful. So most people are like puppets. They're not living in the world as it is. They're living in their world. So whatever the mind is saying, that's their perception of reality, which is why we don't get each other when we're really close, because we're all living in our own reality. And we can't live in somebody else's reality because we're not in their head. We don't know what their mind is saying to them, unconsciously or consciously. And most of the time, we don't either, because we're not still and quiet enough to hear what the mind says. So we're on autopilot. We just do. So if you took a look at yourself as an observer and watched yourself throughout the day, you would start to have quite a few question marks. What makes Susie do this way? What makes Kate or Ken do it this way? What makes Joe do it this way? Why doesn't Natasha do it this way? Etc., etc. It's how you've been conditioned by your mind to do it. So it's all conditioning. So it's like a computer. So you don't realize your actions, your behaviors, your choices, your decisions are not yours. They're what the computer's been telling you. What the computer says. It's how you've been programmed. Which is why it's so difficult when we do catch a programming and think, okay, that's not good for me. I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to start going down to the gym 4 times a week. I'm going to start drinking juice and I'm going to come off vodka every night. And then 3 days later, it's like, not working. No matter what we say, if you've been conditioned a certain way and it's got momentum and it's been going for several years, you can't just steer in a different direction. It's not going to happen. It takes time to steer. Otherwise, it would be like suddenly driving a bus. You're driving a bus at 150 miles per hour. You're loving the ride. It's great. And then suddenly you realize you're going in the wrong direction. If you suddenly steered over to the left, what would happen to the bus? It'd be dangerous. You can't do it. And it's exactly the same with the mind. Your mind has been passed down to you by your parents, their ancestors. It's been going for a long time in these directions. So this is why we can sometimes feel really powerless. So we have to learn to catch, okay, I'm going at 150 miles per hour this way, but now I can see what I'm doing. Now I can see what I'm doing. I need to be present and trust myself to steer slowly in the right direction and not lose my focus until that steering has completely taken place. And this is not what we've been trained to do, which is why we stay stuck in the same patterns, the same cycles keep showing up again and again. It's like these karmic loops. It's like, oh my God, the same cycle. Oh, I know that pattern. I know that cycle. I'm back in that same cycle again. It's because we keep bringing forth the same thing because the conditioning, the program has not changed. So meditation is just like that computer. We are taking out the files that do not serve you, that are old files. And they need updating. So we need to update those files. We need to know which files need to be taken out to create space for some new files. Now, some of those old files also contain viruses, which is why they really need clearing out. So we're just the same. We have a load of files and we don't question them. So meditation gives you back your power. And to understand, you can actually change these files. You can get rid of these files and you can create new files. And when you do, it puts you on a different path. Now, we all have this, but it can be really scary. We can go, okay, sounds great, wonderful, yes, give me another life. And then we can sort of run back and go, oh no, it's easy and safe here, just leave me alone, let me stay here. But we're here to evolve, we're here to play, we're here to grow, we're here to see what we can create. And this is the whole point why soul comes to earth, is to be creative, it's to play, it's to do what feels good for you. As a child, every child that's born into the world has a gift, has creativity, but that creativity gets blocked by the system in many ways. So children lose their creativity so early on, but you will have a gift inside you. And meditation encourages you to go back and find that gift. What was it that was so natural and easy for you to do that you loved? Do it in the world, and then teach and show other people how to do it. We all have something unique. We all have a gift. Some of us were really lucky to have parents who understood that and really nurture that creativity or see that gift. Whereas some of us didn't, because their belief systems were life is about survival. You have to work hard, you have to make money, you have to succeed, you have to survive, you have to blah, blah, blah. We're all limited in some way, and there's no blame, but it is down to us to question the conditioning that we're still choosing to live by and start to question what's key for me here, because the universe is abundant. Universe has abundance, complete abundance, and I can tap into that, whether it's abundance of love, abundance of play, abundance of freedom, abundance of time. It's all there, it's all available, but it's just our belief systems and fear that stops us allowing it. So your mind, try and draw a circle. Look, a lovely whiteboard. This is Davinder being a teacher. I love this little board. I was stood at the shop and I couldn't decide, do I go for blue, pink, orange, yellow, green? I had so many choices, and I was like, Davinder, your mind so controlled you. You're getting this for meditation. Now you choose. It was like, I can't. Okay, so your mind, some of you will know this, some of you won't. So I'm going to start real from basics. This is your mind. So your mind is made up of the conscious and the subconscious and the unconscious. So most often when you hear meditation teachers or experts talk about this, they'll split it into two. So we refer to the subconscious and the unconscious as one, and then the conscious. So just conscious, unconscious. So if I refer to the unconscious, I'm also referring to the subconscious. So this is the interesting part. So this is your mind. It's made up of the unconscious mind and the conscious mind. So what percentage is unconscious and what percentage is conscious? Now, we would love to think as human beings, all this is conscious, surely. Scary thing is, no, all this is unconscious. Only this part here is conscious. Now take a moment to think about that. You are living your life with a slice of your pie, that's how awake you are while you're living your life. That's how present you are. That's how, without meaning to sound mean, that's how with it you are. The rest of you is snoozing off. You're not, even when you think you're here and awake, you're not. You're not here. Now, this is why there's so much out there about mindfulness. Mindfulness is because of this. Mindfulness is trying to show us, you think you're here, you just walk down the street from your house to your park, which you do every day, which you've done for the last 10 days, and you didn't have a clue what was in between that space. All you knew was your front door and the grassy bit that you get to at the end. Do you have any idea what's going on in between? It's like, no. How do we do that? Or we drive from one place to the other place, and it's like, did you see that house? Did you see that person? Did you see that dog? Did you see that blah blah blah? No, we've missed the majority of it. So when we think we are living, we've missed the majority of it. By the time we're dying, most of our life will have missed, because we weren't there. Not present to it. So this is really what mindfulness, things like Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, meditation are trying to teach. They're literally trying to go, wake up, come on human beings, wake up. So why don't we wake up? Why are we only a rough percentage that most people seem to agree is 10% or less is conscious. 90% or more is unconscious. Again, take a moment to feel and sense into that. So you think you're going to get up tomorrow morning and have a whole day. But of that whole day tomorrow, you're only going to be aware of 10% of yourself and your experience. The rest you're going to miss. You're not even going to notice. This is the reason we start to feel unfulfilled or think something's missing, because hello, there is something missing. A very big part of us is missing. That's why so many people think, I don't know what it is, but there's just a void. Something's missing. Yes, of course there is. You're not fully here. And so most people try to fill that up because it feels so uncomfortable. So they'll fill it up with going, okay, well, I'll find a lover. A lover will do it for me. That will fill me up. That will make me feel more whole. Or I'll go get on the chocolate, which is what I used to do all the time. Chocolate, give me another chocolate bar, another chocolate bar, more chocolate. Or alcohol, or sex, it's just addictions. Whenever there is an addiction, it's simply that person is missing themselves. So, why is this happening? And can we change it? So, some of you, especially in the Lighthouse, you'll hear me talking about the Golden Age and the Great Awakening. So this is what is the phase on the planet. We're shifting consciousness. So as a collective, the whole of planet Earth is going through a vibrational shift. So where do I get this information from that I share in the Lighthouse? I channel. channel was something, it's a gift I've had as a child and then ran from and blocked, but I accessed it again. So I have a strong connection with what's known as spirit guides, who can communicate, talk through me, give me information. They literally share. So it's why I created Med Yoga, meditation. Everything is not studied from books. I literally just allow myself to talk. It just flows through me. I just know this stuff because it's shared with me. And this was through meditation. And this is something we all have. So we're going through a massive collective shift right now. So the whole of the earth is shifting from what we call 3D frequency, which is a dense vibration. It's a heavy vibration, to a higher frequency. So the easiest way to understand it, because I don't want to get complicated with this session, is everything is energy. So I think you'll all agree everything is energy. That's scientifically proven as well. We know everything is energy. There is nothing that is not energy. No matter what it looks like, it's still energy. So Yannicka is energy, Joe is energy, Anita is energy, I'm energy. Everything's energy. Now, energy vibrates and pulsates at different frequencies. So energy pulsates, it vibrates at different frequencies. Dependent on the speed at which it pulsates and vibrates, as to how we experience it as a dense, low vibration or high vibration. So I'll give you an example. You may go into, let's say you walk into a bar and you suddenly think, oh, that person over there, oh, I don't get a good feeling. He feels, oh, heavy, something doesn't feel right, I can feel it. I don't feel comfortable. That's you picking up their energy. So you've realized their energy, their frequency is denser than yours. So you're not a match. So that's your energy saying too low vibration. The lower the vibration, the more they are in survival and fear. The more you're in survival and fear, the more you're unconscious. Now, we start to wake up. So we're going through a collective awakening. Human beings are being given the opportunity to start to awaken, which means they can shift all this stuff out of here much more quickly than has ever been allowed before and bring it into consciousness. The speed at which we're doing this is getting faster. So I've been doing this for 15 years now, which is why I've done yoga, meditation. It means everything here in the unconscious will come to surface. You'll be allowed to face it. If you can face it, it moves on. It comes into consciousness and transforms. So this is the transformational journey. Now, there's a reason why your mind has shoved it into the unconscious. So the unconscious is where your insecurities are, your doubts, your worries, your fears, your childhood trauma, which everybody's had, your ancestral conditioning. So it's literally the storehouse of everything that's happened to you. Anything that did not get processed, that was painful, let's say a comment from your mum or your dad. As a child, if you couldn't assimilate it, if there's nobody around to say, it's okay to feel angry, it's okay to feel fear, I hear you, I see you, and you weren't validated, it means the energy isn't allowed to flow. We block it, we don't know what to do with it. It stays in the unconscious, stays in our energy field, causes us to start to go into a lower frequency, a lower vibration, which is when we start to feel heavy, tired, etc. It's getting clogged up. it needs releasing, it needs purging. So meditation, we sit in stillness and shut the mind up for a while so we can hear and let this stuff start to come to surface. You start to get more and more stability in yoga to face it and not run. But you face it through the body, not the mind. Because if you face it by the mind is going to scream and shout and go, run! This is bad, this is dangerous, this is going to hurt. Whereas if you face it with the body, the mind isn't going off on one, or if it does, you can stay in the body and just face it as physical sensation. That's all it is. And then the mind will eventually break down and no longer need to protect you. When the mind no longer needs to protect you from what's in here, you're free. This is liberation. The mind's primary job is survival, to keep you safe. So it's trying to do a good job for you, but the only problem is been trying to do such a good job for you that it stopped you living how you're really meant to live. Because if it blocks pain, it's going to block pleasure. If it blocks anger, it's going to block acceptance. If it blocks fear, it's going to block love. So anything that's blocked, you're going to block yourself from receiving it externally in life. And then the only way around it is to try and either work your butt off or be something you're not to try and get it. Rather know it's all going to come to you if you just surrender and let go. And then we exhaust ourselves, we either control, manipulate, work our asses off, do what we think we have to do to receive. But we don't. It's the illusion of the mind. So meditation is simply that tool that allows you to face all this stuff here, but doing it in a safe way. When you sit in meditation, it's not going to simply just go, hello, I know you're ready. When you sit in meditation, what it will do is make it really hard for you. It's not going to make it easy for you. The mind is not going to make it easy for you to go into here. It does not want you to go into here because it's trying to protect you from this pain, this sadness, these emotions. So we have to break down the resistance of the mind. And the only way we can break down the resistance of the mind is by stop ourselves from feeding it, which is what meditation does. Each time you don't feed a thought, it's going to die. Each time a thought dies and is not being fed, you create space. So everything in here, these experiences, they're thoughts. They will eventually start to lose power over you. So you'll be able to face the thought that you've been running from, or the belief that's held you back. And then it finally dissolves. That's not an overnight thing. It's not an overnight thing at all. If it's just a thought, okay, great. You might be able to use an affirmation. But this isn't what 7 Keys meditation is about. It's not about superficial stuff. 7 Keys meditation is great. Yes, you can use meditation with thoughts, but you're not really going to create much transformation there. If you want to create proper transformation, it's not thoughts you're working on, it's belief systems. And your belief systems are structures that need to be broken down bit by bit by bit. So one belief system could take you an entire lifetime for it to crumble and fall down. I know I've had some belief systems I've worked on for years, and there's one I've been working on which I think I'll probably be working on for the rest of my life. But I know each time I shift and clear some, I have more freedom, more and more. So I'm not expecting to be completely free of it. I'd love to be, and I might be, but I'm not attached to that outcome. But all I know is when I do face that fear or that terror, and I stay with it and present, and I bring my consciousness to it and lean, it loses power over me. And I can allow that fear or that terror to move through my body and not run. So I don't run from uncomfortable feelings. So I accept all of life, the good and the bad. And this is really the ultimate teaching, is accept life as it is. Accept all of life. There will be pain. There will be sadness. There will be disappointment. Don't run. Lean in. Because each time you run, you put another block here. The more you block any aspect of life, you're going to miss the light and the joy. So when somebody has had all the joy squeezed out of them, and you can feel it, you can sense it in people. You know when you're with somebody and you think, there's just no joy left in them. It's because they squeeze the joy out of them. You can't have joy and not experience the opposite. Or somebody that squeezed all the love out of them. And you just think there's just no love or light coming from that person. It's because of the fear. They're running from fear. If they could face fear, they would still be love. So we can't say yes to one part of life and no to another. We have to say yes to all of it. That's liberation. So I don't expect you to get there by next week or next month. But I am looking forward to taking you on this journey and introducing you just step by step. So the reason why I created the 7 keys is it gives you little building blocks. So I'm not going, right, okay, I've been doing it for like 17 odd years. Here you go, off you go. I've literally gone, okay, over that 17 years, if I could condense everything I've learned into the most powerful teachings and the powerful aspects that have helped me shift. Because there's some stuff which just didn't work for me. So I've just gone, those parts that I've used and I swear by have made massive impact in my life. I've broken and condensed it down, and that's what I'm going to be teaching you. So the key thing to remember is it's in the real simplest teachings you'll find the most difficult, but that's where you'll get the true shifts, not the complicated. The mind wants complicated. It wants A to Z. It wants blah, blah, blah. But the truth is, again, that's a trap from the mind. And that's what we have to break out of. The more simple, the more easy, the less doing anything will get you there just like that, far quicker. But this is what it will probably be your biggest hurdle, because you're not conditioned for that. The human being is not being conditioned to believe everything is going to go their way. Everything's going to be easy and effortless. And whatever happens in life, they're going to cope with just fine. We've been conditioned to resist, block, life's against us. Something doesn't want us to succeed. Something doesn't want the best for us. Why would we think that? Who made us think that? It's nonsense. Most of what we've been taught is nonsense. And this is what meditation is really teaching. It's like, wake up. It's like the divine saying, wake up. I've created you. Look in the mirror. Look at yourself. Look how incredibly beautiful, gorgeous, amazing you are. I've created you. And do you really think I'm going to go, I'm going to make it really scary and horrible for you? I want to get you. No. We do that to ourselves. And when we have things that don't work the way we want to in life, it's either because we've got some learning to do, or it's where we're resisting what we really deserve is the conditioning, but it's not being done to us. So it's very much a school. So it's like the divine is going, right, I'm going to put you down to earth for you to experience what it's like when I'm not loving you, when you're not open to receiving everything you're worthy of and deserve, until you finally had enough and want to break out of it. And you surrender and you let go. And you start to let me back in and start to allow me to show you how much I love you, that I've created you so that you can receive everything and have a life that makes you really happy. Why would I not want that for you? So it's going to be a fun experience. So I'm going to leave it at that. So what I would say is for our next month, you've got a book in the library. So if you go into Made Yoga School, go into 7 Keys, I've placed a workbook there, 7 keys. So you might want to print that off and just read through, flick through. Doesn't matter if you don't, because we're just going to take month by month and 1 key at a time. So enjoy, and I would just for the next month, just take your awareness to every day when you wake up, setting the intention to say, okay, I'm aware that only 10% of me is conscious. I'm just going to start to invite in more of me. How can I invite in more of me today? How can I be more aware of me? And just notice what starts to happen. Start to notice how you are being when you invite more than just 10% of you in. You may struggle. You may find it quite scary. But just notice, and it'll be lovely to hear how you get on with that. Good. Well done, my darlings. Have a wonderful week. Have a lovely week. Mwah. Love you all. Thank you so much for being here. It's such a pleasure to have you all here and teach you. Sleep well, my darlings. Night, night.